Are there logistical issues? We're going to have lunch delivered.
Lunch will be delivered to the breakfast area.
Oh, okay.
So after we finish up here, we'll just quietly and peacefully proceed to the breakfast area, and food should be there waiting for us.
Yeah.
It's scheduled to arrive at 11:45.
Okay. And they'll probably let us know, and and we usually lock up the room.
We'll
so
lock
that we
up
can
the
leave
room.
our valuable computers.
Right.
Which. Yeah. All right. What I usually do here is go and introduce people, or introduce ourselves. And start with myself. I'm Neil Waldhauer. I'm part of the Warpstock board and manager of this speaker committee. And I operate the Blonde Guy consultancy for OS2 related operations, an ever dwindling source of work, but not gone yet. There's still commercial OS2 out there. There's still a few users who are on it. So, okay, good for you. Good for us. I'm still using it as my principal operating system. Occasionally using other operating systems because that's the way we have to do in this world. But it's still possible to run a business on OS2, and I'm supporting people who are doing it. And they're getting challenged too. I mean, I think everybody has to sort of look at that, but that's part of why we're here to say how do we function as OS2 users in the modern world. So that's me. I'd like to go around the room and introduce some. And Martin, I don't know if you can point the camera at people as they introduce themselves. And
Sure, no problem.
why don't we start at the front of the room?
All right.
Are you Lewis?
All right. I'm Louis Rosenthal. I'm the managing member of Arkanoe, IT consultant for many years, a practicing accountant. But OS2 stuff is what I really do. Used to be the other way around. I was an accountant. I was an OS2 guy, but what I really did was accounting, and now it's sort of flipped around. And I'm also the treasurer of Warpstock. And as such, I'm one of the people to blame. I mean, responsible for the event this weekend. So if you have problems, you can come to me with them, and I'll point you over to Neil. At Arkanoe, we have a number of commercial enterprises that are still running OS2 that are migrating to Arca OS as their OS2 capable hardware is reaching end of life, and finding power supplies for compact desk pros becomes nearly impossible. So we see new OS2 software and new machines for OS2 every day. But as Neil said, there are challenges to address, and we're trying to do what we can to help people get past those limitations. And that's about it for me.
Just one thing, we have a microphone that is...
We have a microphone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Does
it have an on? It does have an on.
On the bottom, there's the power.
Yes.
You click it once.
Wait a minute, on the bottom?
Yeah, they have.
Oh, I see. There's a little power button on the bottom.
Once, and then you can use the switch.
And then use the switch here. Is that on? Is it hello?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Awesome.
Okay. So now the microphone is on, and out just in time for me to set it down or hand it off. Martin, are you going to speak next?
Yeah, sure. But
Okay.
Since the camera is already pointing here.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Martin Iturbide, or Iturbide. I'm the newsmaster of OS2world.com, and I guess that you already know we do some projects there. We have the forum, we have news, and I'm going to talk about that later also. Okay? I would like to thank all the people that sponsor me for the traveling costs. So that's why I'm here. Okay? Thanks.
And
And
you're a director of Warpstock.
I'm a director of Warpstock.
And our
I'm video streaming.
Designated video streamer.
Yeah, I'm the designated video streamer. Yeah.
Glad I could help.
Nice. Thank you, Howard. Go ahead.
Hello, I'm Howard Winter. I'm from England, and for a while I was the UK sales thing for ECS and then for AOS. And I thought I'd retired, but a couple of months ago somebody contacted me and said, I've got these ECS machines, I want to upgrade to a new machine and use AOS. So I built him a nice little machine, M900 Tiny, it's about that size. I brought one with me so I can show you. Loaded AOS on it after about 5 attempts at various configurations, and it's working, and he now has it. So a new client. So there we go. Other than that, I'm retired. Cheers. Next person.
No, you don't have to walk over here.
Oh, okay.
You can do it from there.
That kind of had the kind of prison vibe.
Okay.
My name's Doug Clark. I started with OS2 in version 1.3. I purchased OS2 because I was trying to create a fax broadcasting business. Show you how times have changed for the mortgage industry, because they would send out interest rates every day, and the way they did that was by fax. And so OS2 was I knew the 2.0 was coming out. 1.3, if you had it, you'd get a discount on the upgrade, and it was a multitasking system. So I decided, hey, let's do that. I was consulting in California at the time, and you had to buy it from the IBM store, and the IBM store closed at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So just a symbol of how user-friendly they were at the time. So I've been using it since 2.0 came out. I run it natively on hardware. I'm retired, so it really doesn't matter. But there was a period of time when I was consulting for Lucent, and OS2 was listed as one of, well, because IBM Global Services was their consulting company, and for a brief moment in time, IBM Global Services actually supported OS2, and so they had gotten OS2 listed as one of the approved operating systems, and so in our little division we got OS2 put in there, and we're running that for a number of years. So I was consulting in a business using OS2 exclusively. It was a nice period of time.
I'm Jeffrey Grace, and glad to be back with you after the break that we had for COVID. I began using OS2 in Bangkok. I'm thinking 1990, because I was running IBM PC DOS, and I was sick of waiting for a print job to finish before I could go on. So I thought, I heard about this multitasking system. So I started out, it must have been, so you were at 1.3, maybe I was at 2, maybe that was the first set of, was it 37 floppies that we had to install with, I think. I installed on many machines, 37 floppies. So I followed it for a long time. I used it, then I had a bad hardware accident, and my wonderful OS2 machine died, and other things happened in my life, putting a daughter through medical school. But she now has the money. She bought me these nice new shoes last week, so that can go off. But so I'm bringing my OS2 machines back, and I've got several of them upstairs. I've got a machine I got from Neil, the T43, hardware conked out, but he says he can create a restore CD, and it'll boot on other. I got a lot of T60s and T61s and 220s, and I got about 20, 25 computers. I never throw anything out. So I'm getting back going, got that, I've got a 2.2 machine from, what was his name, who ran that for a long time?
Up in Canada, you mean?
It was Texas that it was.
in Texas.
Yeah, we had somebody who licensed it originally, used to work for him. Well, whoever that
Oh,
was.
Bob St. John?
Yeah, Bob St.
Yeah,
John.
okay,
So I got
sorry,
his
sorry.
last set of discs, and that machine works, but it can't connect to the internet. That's one of my projects here. And then I got a nice, and then I got a license from you,
Mhm.
which unfortunately the hardware that was going to go on crash, but we'll get that installed now. I just sent you an email about that. So I want to get back in the game. I bought a IBM Warp server.
Mhm.
For $3 at Goodwill. It's still in the shrink wrap. I want to bring that up. I got a project for that. So I don't do anything challenging, but I'm basically, I got everything organized in my life now. Daughter's through medical school. I recoded my personal website. You can go there and look. My career in as a political scientist and economist, jeffreyrace.com. All my life's work is there. And what I was going to give a talk on this time, but it didn't work out, is on rsync, so I'll do it for next year, because I'm setting up a network for everybody in the family. Everything we backed up through a chain of machines. We'll probably be running OS2 here at our house on Cape Cod. It'll be chained to the house in Bangkok. It'll be chained to another cloud place. But basically everything's under my control. I have repetitive week-by-week backups in 4 different geographic locations. So anyway, that's why I'm here. I'm going to listen. I forgot my computer in Houston. It's coming here. So I'm just taking notes on paper, but I'm very glad to be back with you. And I'm glad we're all here together. And I hope it'll be more next year. I want to compliment the setup, by the way. I think it's a very nice layout we have here. I like these jewelry hotels.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hi, I think I've met most of you before. This is on, right? This is on, right? Yeah. Didn't hear.
Yes.
Okay.
Just no. No.
Recharge.
Yeah. When it's Simmons, we'll know it's on.
You got the magic touch.
Yeah.
So my name's Alex Taylor. I've been involved in OS2 since the mid-90s, I guess. I came later than some. I was studying computer science in university up in Ontario, and DOS was reaching the end of its life, and I'd had some friends who'd used this system called OS2, so I knew, okay, that's the next operating system. And then all of a sudden, Microsoft announces this Windows 95 is like, hey, this is the next big operating system. And I was just like, wait a second, don't we already have one? So, my university's computer science department was a very big Unix house. So I actually started, I went from DOS to Linux first. Then I came from Linux to OS2 when one of the guys in the IT department that I had a part-time job with gave me a copy of Warp 3. So I played with that for a while. Bought Warp 4 around 1998 once I'd saved up, having graduated. Then started tinkering around, learning to do programming on it. Then a company at the time, Serenity Systems, announced a product of Ecom Station. So I'd studied, like my university sort of specialty was human-computer interaction, so I had some ideas of improving the user interface, and I wrote a couple of small demos, like, hey, if you're gonna do this kind of thing, for example, replace the logical volume manager interface, you should design it like this, it'd be a good idea. And Kim Jung, who was in charge of the company at the time, said, why don't you just do it for us? So I came on as a volunteer basis to do some development work on Ecom Station that really accelerated my learning of OS2 programming. So I went on to do similar stuff with Mensis and so on. Then a number of years later, Lewis was in the market for some user interface sort of experience in Arkanoa. So I jumped aboard, and yeah, here we are, basically. So you can probably see some of my work in Arkanoa. It's quite well integrated, so I don't feel I need to point it out.
Microphone booth.
Yeah, I noticed that. So if you can spot it, great. But I leave that as an exercise to the user, as it were. So yeah.
Great. Thanks.
Questions? That's an interesting part. Don't you live in Japan?
Not anymore. I live in Canada now. I did live in Japan for 9 years.
Okay.
I actually started my work with Arkanoa while I was there, doing my master's degree at Keio University in Tokyo. So
that was interesting because we had to figure out a meeting time that would work for people on the West Coast, on the East Coast, and in Japan. So that was always an adventure. Fortunately, I was doing my master's degree, so it didn't matter what hours I kept. I could stay out half the night and then sleep until noon. It was, thesis writing, it's all hours of the clock, or no hours as the case may be. I never got so much house cleaning done as when I was trying to finish this.
You got a degree in computer science?
Undergrad degrees in computing and information science, yeah. My master's degree is in design, technically it's called media design. It's basically design thinking, user experience. So
And you speak Japanese?
I can kind of get by. I was actually there last week, 2 weeks ago, for a short vacation.
If this is working, what did you do? Shake it?
You turn it on. There's a
There's
button
a little red button on the bottom,
on the bottom.
the very bottom.
Yeah, right there.
So the actual switch on the top doesn't do anything?
The switch works, but
It needs to be powered on first. Try to flip the switch off and hit the. Yeah, let's take a
Sure you don't want me to drop it?
I think
Let's turn the switch off for a sec. Press the button.
here.
There we go.
No, it's like red. Not turn on.
So run OS2 then?
I think it's running DOS.
So obviously these people
It's
need
running
Hello.
DOS.
Alex's help here it's completely unintuitive how to turn the microphone.
Okay, so my name's JT Agnello. I've been working with operating systems since the 80s. DOS, Windows, OS2, Unix, a whole bunch of things. I love operating systems. I live for operating systems. So what I like to do these days is, with all the advances in virtualization, I get to play with operating systems without worrying so much about all the hardware. So I love it. And that's what I'll be presenting today a little later on, is all that experience playing with that. In the meantime, I live up in the mountains of southern Colorado. It's a great place to live, and I love it. The other shameless plug I want to do is I'm a volunteer firefighter. So join your local volunteer firefighting department and help out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, let's see, I'm Joe Kemp. I started using OS2 when I go through this process, almost virtual here.
Yeah,
Is there some timeout on it? Or is the battery?
I think the battery's getting
yeah.
weak.
Shower.
Is the light on the bottom of it?
Straight up.
Yeah, it's blinking red,
Yeah.
so it might.
Yeah.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good, okay.
Right.
I'm Joe Kemp. I'm from the Washington, Maryland area. I started using OS2 in January of 1990. So I'm not sure what version it was. I think it was 1 something, 1.0, 1.2, or something like that. Probably maybe saved my job because the word processing capabilities, spell check was because of my dyslexia, was very helpful to me. In any case, somewhere along the line it became a hobby of mine to use OS2. I'm a very light. I haven't done a program or anything like that since college. But it's been a hobby of mine using OS2 since I installed Warp3 on one of my desktops. I come here in order to get updates of what's going on, to find out get additional support and knowledge of where it's going, because I want to maintain the hobby. Now, because I still work full time, I've been very busy. I've been also upgrading my computer systems, and because I was waiting for 5.1, I haven't used it that much. Now they got 5.1. I'm installing it on wherever I can now. We buy more licenses for that, and I've
Thank
also some similar projects with you, Jim. So, I live in Maryland and a place in the Eastern Shore of Maryland and one of the islands here. That's where I currently work right now. So, I think that's it. Anything else you guys want to know? Next.
So we determined if this is working or not? Is it working?
No. Hold the power button in, and then
Hope for the best.
Hope that- is the light blinking on the bottom?
Light is blinking.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay.
There's a lag.
Glenn Zamorsky, I started working with OS2 under 3 point something, about 17 machines. I remember the
4 billion disks that you had to use to load them. I moved to an organization that had a huge OS2 installation, and they told me, oh, you know OS2? We're getting rid of it in 18 months. 22 years later, I left that organization. They were still using OS2. Lewis pinged me. I worked with them on a project at this particular place. Lewis pinged me and said, hey, we're doing something with these guys. Would you like to help? And I said, certainly. So I'm doing some consulting for Arkanoa with one of their customers. My day job, I run the VMware storage and AD environment for a tribal casino, which has 4 sites. I actually manage 5 VMware farms, AD and a whole bunch of other stuff that goes along with this. And then shameless plug, I was a volunteer firefighter, EMT for 10 years. So support there's more volunteer firefighters in the world than there are professionals. So support your local firefighters.
Good point. Very good point to make.
You guys feel like coming up to Canada next summer?
I did have a red card. I supported a national park, so.
Thanks.
So
I was on fire.
push the red.
Push the little red power button until the light starts to blink on the bottom.
Hello.
There you go.
Great.
Perfect.
I'm David Oakford. I live in New York City, and used to work at Prodigy, which was an online service that disappeared a long time ago. But we used OS2 a lot there, so I learned to develop it. I guess it was 1.2 was the first one I used, and I worked with it there until the late '90s, and then I took a job at a bank on a big syndicated lending application at Bankers Trust, and it was developed on OS2, so I used it for a few years there. Since then, it's been kind of a hobby more. But Lewis asked me to look at, and I stopped working a few months ago, so I now actually have some free time. And Lewis asked me to look at the Open VPN client, so I've been doing that and down the rabbit hole with it. And if anybody knows how to set up security keys for GitHub, I would really appreciate some help. I thought you might, yeah, okay. So I think that's it.
It's a pretty opaque process.
It's
Right.
yeah. No
David?
kidding.
David?
Yeah?
Were you working in the World Trade Center?
Oh yeah, actually my company, the second one, we were spun off from Bankers Trust, Deutsche Bank, and we had our office on the 83rd floor of the World Trade Center, and then we didn't. And I was downstairs, not up at the office, because I took my daughter to school that morning, so I'm forever thankful to her. And anyway, yeah, I forgot about that. Our company disappeared. The plane went basically through our office.
Still working, I think?
No, no.
No.
My name is Jan
No,
Verbeek.
press it. It's
Oh,
on.
President, yeah.
The good thing is that we are all going to learn how to turn on
My
the
name
mic.
is Jan van Rijk.
Exactly.
I'm from the Netherlands, and I started working on OS2 1.0 in the late 80s with IBM, developing some database stuff for what they call OS2 Extended Edition. And I've been working with OS2 professionally until the early 2000s, I guess, when I started my own company developing a disk utility product, DFC, for which I'm probably most widely known. I've been working on that for about 25 years and retired from that this year. So DFC is still available. Actually, it's free now. It's open source. And I'm retired. And, still don't have enough time to do everything I want to do. But computing is a little bit lower on my priority these days. So, okay, that's it.
I'm Greg Young. I've been using OS2 since the early 90s, and I basically maintain
Greg, can I have the button batteries from this?
I basically maintain a moderate number of OS2 based programs.
Wrong time. I'll go back.
I'm David. I'm one of the principals at Arkanoa, and I do lots of stuff to keep Arca OS running.
Stay tuned.
Alright, I'm Andy Willis. I'm Vice President on the Warpstock board. I've been using OS2 for
Ever.
basically since I bought a PC that had DOS and Windows 3.11, and I was like, this is the most terrible thing I've ever seen. And I was talking to my C instructor, and she's like, yeah, she's like, I'm gonna have to try the copy of OS2 they gave me. And looked that up and found a copy, and that's what I've used.
May I make a comment? If anybody ever wants it, I have the account from we're talking about Windows. A news account, maybe it's from the Norfolk, Virginia newspaper of the day, when the USS York becomes disabled and has to be towed back because Windows controlled everything and Microsoft coded in and divide by zero.
Oops.
So the carrier has to be towed into port. And the Microsoft program hasn't improved.
That's true.
You know, I mean, that's just symbolic. Nobody wants it. You know, I send this to people all the time.
All right. Well, we have a few extra minutes, so
We got everyone except for Roderick.
Oh, Roderick.
He should be able to fill the remaining minutes.
Exactly. And here he is.
Watch Roderick change the batteries.
Brand new.
All right, change him in front of the camera here. So.
Sorry, people at home. Technology always fails sometimes.
And then you can test the new batteries by telling us about yourself, because none of us know who you are.
No, I guess not. Now let's hope it doesn't blink again. Red, yeah, now it's green. So
Green is good.
Oh, it's
Green is good.
That's good.
hello?
Yes.
Well, okay. Sorry for the people at home.
Don't worry.
Don't walk away.
Just
sorry,
move
sorry.
away.
Oh,
Just-
sorry. Yeah.
You're fine.
If I look rotten, yes, I'm still jet lagged, but okay, it's worth the trip. There are a few people in the room that might not know me, the vast majority. OS2, I've been breathing and living it for 25 years. I'll soon be 25 years president of Voice. I don't hope I have dictator disease. I've had asked other people to step forward, no problem. I've worked at Mensis on Ecom Station for 12 years. Did 10 or 12 Warpstocks, and now involved with all sorts of other auxiliary projects. I hope that at this Warpstock I can release a manual and a secure boot tool so that you can install the certs from Arkanoa on a machine with secure boot. I'll be doing a presentation on VMware tools that my boyfriend Jeroen has written. He's not really at home in OS2 coding, but he's sufficiently knowledgeable to do that. I'll do a presentation on Sunday about what Voice is currently up to and what some of the upcoming plans are. So enjoy Warpstock and hello to everybody online. Thank you.
Roderick, did you take the train here?
No, it wasn't. I think I became famous that I actually arrived in Denver, Colorado that time by train and actually took the last hop with the.
It only took you 8 days to get there after you got into the States.
I think I actually did about 5,000 miles by Amtrak going through to the south and then all the way to Florida and all the way back from Florida to Washington and on Chicago and Denver by rail. So, but it was an interesting trip.
I'll bet it
Orlando
was.
that way. I took the train. That was nice.
If
So
you
you
can
can
arrange
arrange it for rail stations.
Thank you. All right. Well, that concludes my introducing Warpstock. But what I'd like to do now is just kind of low key. I'm going to just shut this machine down and bring it back up. And just.
So we have a couple minutes here?
You have a couple minutes,
Sure.
and I think it's an interesting kind of process.
Do we have any programming notes to share with the group? Suggestions for muting cell phones?
Muting cell phone? What? Yes.
There, you can plug into them.
Or put them in do not disturb or something.
Mm-hmm.
What I did, but I just pushed up some of the DMID codes